Hi, we've invited Ms. Hills to talk about a very big event these days, and a new cabinet was sworn in yesterday, and the premier's name is Sean Chen, and so the adage is this: wealthy people lead to a strong nation. In Chinese, it's 富国经济, which means wealthy nation economy. So it's a little different. One of my friends said it's delusional. So it was just one of my friends, and I was wondering why. Do you want to make did you read about this, and do you want to make comments?
Yeah, so I did read about this in the paper. They were saying that because of the euro debt, it's maybe wrong to think that we can build a strong economy, a wealthy economy, and then have a strong nation from that. So instead of building the strong economy, you'll make people wealthy, and then those wealthy people will build a strong nation. So, but then they went on to say something about how we would be rich in our hearts, or like rich in spirit, or something like this. Yeah, I think it's a bit
Overly optimistic.
Yeah, really too optimistic. I mean, we're already in this euro debt crisis. A lot of nations aren't doing very well, and so the way to combat this now is just to make people wealthy, which is the problem in the first place. There's a bunch of wealthy people and a bunch of poor people, and that's why we have all these problems in Europe. So to do that isn't really going to help anybody.
Well, I was just wondering, can you understand now why my friend would say it's delusional? I mean, because there is this huge euro debt crisis, and how are you going to make people rich?
Right.
Right. Without creativity, without any renovation, and without any foreign investment. I mean, if you want to make the nation rich, there are going to be strategies and policies that go with it. And now we're just hearing some adage that's not going to fool people, because there are already people in the media saying, okay, so it looks like it's the wealthy people's economy, and the poor are going to become poorer. So do you have anything else you want to go on with this subject? Because I definitely think this is kind of boring, but it is on the news and it's on the front page. So,
well, I guess we can kind of transition into another subject that's kind of about this, but not really. Taiwanese people, maybe it's just like a Chinese, maybe it's just an Asian thing. But you guys have a lot of adages, like...
He said, we would say, yeah, a lot of the answers came
from
mainland China. And it's probably about, okay, let me give you a little bit of just history. It's because it's probably 90% of the population here is from China. After the Dutch rule, okay, and we have, but it's already 3-4 generations down, and so we have kind of a separate identity and culture, and so you want to go on with what you were saying, yeah?
Yeah, it just seems that your culture, you have a lot of sayings, like it's always honorable to fall on your sword, or I'm just making that up, but you know, like you always have a lot of sayings that you use to make things sound better. And I know that Taiwanese people don't say them in English, but in Chinese, you say it a lot in your everyday life. Western people don't really say this. So when people say things like, you know, we want to make wealthy people to have a strong economy, it's just like another one of those like happy sayings that, you know, it seems like another thing that was like passed down or something that you would say.
That's very interesting because the kanji or the Chinese characters are like very symbolic. So we can go back to 3,000 years ago to read about, and what's interesting is 3,000 years ago, a lot of our thoughts are very abstract. So we use the symbols. But now if we are still using them, that definitely sounds a little sort of primitive. Right, because we do need more concrete and detailed things to say, rather than some four-character thing to completely cover or fool the people.
Right. To me, when I was reading it, it sounded kind of like a proverb that someone would say. And I was just thinking to myself, is this okay in this day and age to just use a proverb to sum up everything? I mean, we have Euro debt, we have countries almost at war with each other, and yet this new premier is going to use like something that sounds like a proverb to just make it seem like everything is all right. And how many people are going to really believe that? But I know a lot of Taiwanese people are really superstitious. A lot of them really believe in these type of proverbs. But I just thought, yeah, wow, how old-fashioned, really, to be saying something like this.
Well, it's very true. Interestingly, that we've been talking about this, I've realized how backwards we are. And because of this symbolic thing, that we can always go back to say some proverb to fool the whole people, the whole population, and but it's beneficial to the ruling class if you want to create a cultural revolution and completely fool the people. We can always use those proverbs, adages, and you just play with words. And because most people don't really read into the details, we're just unscientific.
That's right. And I mean, it's not like Western countries are any better. We have, a bunch of politicians that are lying about everything. They don't use proverbs to do it, but, they still do. But it's just, to me, it's like looking at like some famous proverb like Lao Tzu or something like that, and just like quoting everything that he's saying now as, reality. I mean, he talks a lot about, in his writings, about rulers and about kings and stuff like that. If we were to use that today, somebody would think, well, that's a little strange. But here, it's okay to use something like that, and people think, oh, that's great, the whole country's going to be rich, everyone's going to prosper, when really, it is a bit delusional.
Well, firstly, when I wanted to talk about this, because I just thought they just came up with some adage, and I thought it might be an opportunity for me to clarify things a little bit for our audience. But we didn't have a plan to talk about this. But then it's funny when I just brought in the delusional factor, and then you completely realize what I was going to say, because I didn't see any policies, and there is nothing. So this is a good talk. It's a good conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say in that article how are they going to do that. Are they going to make farmers richer? Are they going to make the wealthy richer? Are they going to just pluck people out of the air and say, oh, here's $1 million Taiwan dollars, you're now a wealthy person?
Right. I mean, are we going to just stay like authoritarian? That's what I'm worried about. It's like we can't escape the fate. I mean, I think Asian, or you can say the pan-Chinese, whatever Sino culture thing, like, I think the only successful example is Singapore. But Singapore has they also use English.
Yeah, they have a really big European influence.
Right. So it's I think ideas are more exact.
Yeah, I mean, when is Asia going to going to stop using this system. You know, it's so old, it's so outdated. I think that people want to hear the truth.
Right.
People, you know, more people voted for Tsai Ing-wen this election. There's, you know, young people that want to hear what you have to say, what you're going to do. Show it through your action, not through a proverb.
Right. Well, you're kind of this talk with you is kind of inspiring, but I want to be fair because I think Western nations like Europe, Canada, United States, Australia, and all these nations can also get lost in information and exactness. So you're lost and we're lost. Let's just be lost together.
We're lost differently.
You're lost differently. I mean, so okay. Thank you.